Hi everyone, it's Tammy, and I have a little bit of time this afternoon. I'm waiting for someone, and I thought, I have my computer, and I had some ideas that I would actually share them with you. Um, this first one is on what we commonly know as the healing crises. Um, when it comes to this kind of work, there is something to be said for what exactly the healing crisis is and our relationship to that. So what we understand is that sometimes I've actually heard plenty of practitioners say this, that if somebody gets um, starts to take a supplement, or they get into treatment and they have a flare, um, we it's expected that the body's got to detox. Well, I have my own experience with and understanding of detoxing when it comes to the human body. And quite honestly, I feel like we are over the top when it comes to detoxing ourselves. You see, the body is actually designed to do it to do just that. So the fact that we take all these detox products and we go and have this major flushes and you do these juicings, you're actually don't need to do it. I'm just going to stop there. Um, so for someone to say I've started this protocol and I've had this, I don't feel well, and for the physician or the practitioner to say that is what we call a healing crisis, this is what we want you to go through. Well, there is some validity to that, yet you got to be careful because I guess what I want to say is you have to be careful because there are ways to look at healing crises and actually and then we misunderstand when the body is actually detoxing itself. So, with that said, a cold is a healing crisis. The flu is a healing crisis. Chickenpox, when you're all blistered up and itchy, or shingles, you're in healing crisis. That is the body. And I've said this before, the miraculous aspect of the body is it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And our tendency to run out and go get products to quiet these flares is actually hindering the body from doing what it's supposed to do, what it's actually doing to protect you and to help heal you. That is what a healing crisis is when you get into a flare up. And again, allergies, flu, cold, rashes, such as psoriasis, dermatitis, eczema, um, diarrhea, constipation. These are all things where the body is actually trying to restore balance. Now, are these comfortable? Oh my goodness, no. So here's a really interesting aspect that we, as those who live in the United States especially, don't necessarily do. And that is, we don't really honor our body with what it needs. We try to quiet our body and get it to do what we need it to do. And I don't understand that. I say that now. I used to be different. Now, when I get a headache, when I get, for instance, if I'm under a lot of pressure for something and I find myself stressed and the migraine kicks up, I have learned, by the way, how to manage my migraines with absolutely no medication. They are cluster migraines, so they get intense and they last for days. They can. um, but I've learned how to quiet that, to honor it and honor myself. So that being said, when, let's say, I have a flare up, do I press on and use my methodology to to eradicate whatever the symptoms are, whether it be audiovisual, whether it be actual pain in my head, behind my eyes, where it usually goes in my neck, nausea. abdominal issues, do I just quiet those symptoms, or do I actually take the time to honor what my body needs? Clearly, I know what triggers these, and ordinarily it's stress. So stress, as we've talked about, causes an inflammation. It's an inflamed response to an external situation, and we end up with internal inflammation. So what does that mean when you're stressed? Well, it means you need to take it easy. You need to relax. You need to give yourself a break. And it's okay. I don't know what to do about the context with which the United States people, the way we operate, which is take a pill, use a syrup, whatever you have to do to quiet those symptoms, to show up and get the job done. We've put way too much pressure on ourselves. Now, I'm not promoting, days and days and days of time off from work or from school. What I am proposing, though, is you take the time to actually honor you and take care of your body short term. You will be far better off long term and be far more effective than if you were just to continue to press on and only half-assed your way through the job. So that said, a healing crisis is just that. It's the body's way of going, whoa, whoa, wait a minute here. You've done a little bit more than I can handle, and I need to kind of reset. Therefore, I'm going to cause the runny nose and the scratchy throat and the upset stomach, not because I want you to take pills, but because I want you to take care of you. So, I've gone on and said in Instagram posts and on my last video that I really believe there's a place for medication. I absolutely do. So for any physician or healthcare practitioner that's watching this, my background is in just that. Is in medicine. I have worked in pharmacies, and I have a huge working respect for medication. Yet, there are times when you can actually do other things. And it's not about how much, sorry, I have a hair tickling my upper lip. It's not about getting the job done yesterday. It's about taking care of you. And in the meantime, as you see these cycles of healing crises come up, you can actually at that point begin to identify where you need to insert breaks for yourself and actually disconnect from the computer, disconnect from your phone, spend time with your family, go out in nature. If you could see what I was sitting here looking at right now, it's just exquisite to see the wildlife and the trees and the sky, and it's just, this is where I wanted to be. I could have gone home, I could have sat in my office, I could have gone anywhere indoors, but this made more sense to me. So with that said, it's really necessary to recognize these healing crises as indicators that you need to readjust your relationship with yourself and insert, like I said, opportunities for you to, discharge, decompress is a better word. Now, when it comes to healing crises, with medication, I don't necessarily see that so much, other than the fact when you have side effects. Those would be a healing crisis, because at that point the body is really working hard to claim the needed vitamins and minerals for a proper cell function. It's also an indication where it's trying to reset itself and find balance, because these medications really do lead to additional imbalances and possible genetic adaptations. There are medications that will turn off and inactivate other genes. So when that occurs, depending on your genome, you're going to end up with a various number of side effects. That's the reason why when you listen to these wonderful commercials, you always hear an auctioneer rattle off all of these side effects. Well, you can get any number of those depending on your genome and whatever adaptations that medication actually triggers. So the side effects are another form of healing crises. Now, when it comes to taking supplements, when I say supplements, I'm not talking about vitamins and minerals, although you could have a reaction to whatever additives are in those. I'm referring to a lot of the natural ones that are out there, and the oils aren't excluded. But I've witnessed far too many people having shared offices with other clinicians who've gone on to um, naturopathic products that have had some major flares. And the reason for that is because, and this is one of my biggest gripes, if I had a gripe, which I do, I'm human, one of my biggest gripes is the fact that our physicians and our holistic practitioners will not come to the table and accept one another for what each one brings. I say that wholeheartedly. It's the biggest discouragement I have for being in this field. I've often talked about being, the person who wants to bridge the gap between the two. Collaboration is few and far between, if at all. And I'm not going to go on. You all know what I'm talking about. I mean, I've had clients who are on medications that are afraid to tell their doctors that they're working with me. I've had doctors not want to talk to me because either I'm not a doctor or because I don't know medicine and I have no business doing this. I don't know what all of their opinions and judgments are, but I'm not the only one that this goes on with. And the reason why this is important is because if we can't come to the table and begin to accept one another, that each one of us has a gift and a skill that we have to offer the client, and we do not have to do everything at the same time, but being able to properly work with this client and guide them and say, yes, you're taking these medications. I mean, yes, you can go into a lot of PDRs, you can go onto a lot of websites, and what you'll see with a lot of medications, I mean, I just saw it, I think it was just a couple days ago when I was doing some work with a client who has psoriasis. I just checked in on the consumer website just to see what they're telling the patients. And there was a link to complementary and alternative therapies. What I found fascinating was that the statement was, 35% of Americans will use or turn to complementary and alternative therapies. Well, I think it's actually higher. I just think there's a lot of people that don't know that their clients and patients are actually using alternative therapies. Nonetheless, the caution was to use caution because otherwise it would it could potentially adversely affect the medication. Well, that's true, yet there are ways to actually support those medications with oils, especially, but also with proper nutrition or intentional nutrition is more like it. And even with herbs, I mean, there are ways to come at this holistically being everything, not just natural remedies. Holistic means everything. It's the whole system. What we have, our healthcare system is divided, it's fragmented, and what my desire is to see the defragmentation begin. If I can be the catalyst for that, then that's my mission. Regardless, I think it's really imperative that clinicians, albeit allopathic, Western medicine doctors and nurses, begin to actually speak with and collaborate with and compare notes and guide these patients to better support their bodies into wellness. Otherwise, you have a whole nother series of healing crises going on because the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. You have people who don't disclose everything because they're just doing it for themselves and they're not really, understanding what the different chemical reactions these things are triggering. I had a client once that I shared with another clinician I finally had to step away from my working relationship with her because this other clinician refused to, and he was a naturopath, he is a naturopath. He refused to work with me and actually speak with me. And I kept telling him that these oils combined with what he was providing were causing adverse reactions. And when I couldn't get him to compromise, and what I mean by compromise, and this is no joke, this particular person was on 34 different supplements that this man provided alone. And I was just recommending 2 blends. And at that point, I was even going on just with one. Her desire was to come down off of some of the supplements, but the healing crisis that resulted was just gross. That's the best way I know how to describe it. And this particular person, and I have to throw this out there, I'm not going to name names, but I will say this. This goes for everybody who is working with MTHFR. If you are, in fact, a patient or client who is concerned about your methylation pathway and MTHFR and working with someone who is recommending supplements, the methylation accelerator, there's 2 versions of it. That one is not recommended for a lot of oils that you can't use oils with that. It'll cause, unless your practitioner is willing to work with you and give you other ideas, and I'm going to get into this in the next video because one of the things I want to start doing is breaking down oils and identifying what they're good for. There's a lot of oils that stimulate the detox process. Yes, some of them are detoxifying, but there are other ones who actually generate SOD catalase, which is a natural detoxifier within the human body. And when you are combining that with methylation accelerator, it will cause horrendous outbreaks on rashes and blistering. So you must use caution, and that again is another form of a healing crisis. So you are looking at the body, trying to restore wellness, trying to restore balance. That's all a healing crisis is, and how it shows up can show up in any number of ways, as I've discussed here. The fact is that you have to monitor. Sometimes they're good. It's like, when we're sick and we're having a healing crisis, honor the body. When you see side effects, you want to honor the body. It's a wake-up call. It's a red flag that says, hello, I need assistance. I need you to pay attention to me. I need you to develop your relationship with me. That's what a healing crisis is. And no matter where you are on that spectrum of crises, whether it just be a health condition, or, like a minor illness, or if you are actually taking medication or other supplements, and combining all of them without understanding what all you're doing with regards to the chemistry inside your body, you'd be best to get some guidance and help your body facilitate the healing process in a comfortable way. Okay? So if that means that you have a headache and you need to lay down, that's a comfortable way of managing. It's very simple. It's very cost effective. With that said, I would love for you to comment below, leave me questions, email me questions, however I can serve you. And just know that a healing crisis isn't a bad thing. It's just a way of your body communicating with you and asking for you to take care of it, and for you to create that synergistic relationship with what is taking care of you. Have a blessed afternoon. Bye now.